Welcome to Module 5. In this segment, we'll talk about practical methods that you can use to help your students reflect on their performance. To apply each method to the PT/PTA team, have your students complete these reflective activities collaboratively. It might be helpful to first consider the concept of reflection and the thought processes that should be involved. An article in the journal Educational Review by Dr. Katrina Liu provides a great reference point from which to understand the stages of reflection. According to Dr. Liu, the stages of reflection start with analyzing our assumptions and context so that we're aware of not only what we're assuming, but why. This has to do with our own biases and the cultural and historical influences that shaped those biases. Once we understand our own position and what influenced it, we then start to explore other ways of thinking about the same issue. In other words, putting ourselves in someone else's shoes. This imaginative speculation helps broaden our perspective and helps us understand others' points of view. Next, we carefully consider what could be flawed in our own assumptions or in the popular assumptions and opinions that we have accepted as our own. We ask questions to probe the validity of claims that we haven't challenged before. All of these first 4 stages should lead us to decide on an action or actions that will change or improve our practice. The product of this step would be a learning plan with specific activities and goals for improvement. Without this step, all that reflection is kind of useless. Finally, we should close the loop by reflecting on the outcomes of our reflection-based actions. Did those actions help us improve our practice and reach our goals? If not, we may need to cycle through the reflective process again to figure out why it didn't work. Now, let's turn this theory into some useful practical suggestions. The Occupational Therapy Practice Education Collaborative at the University of Queensland in Australia has done a wonderful job of doing just that. Here are some of their practical suggestions for effective reflection. First, intentionally schedule specific times for students to reflect on their performance. This will ensure that it actually happens and that the students don't feel rushed while reflecting, and it will convey the importance of the reflection process. This should be done both individually and as a team. Next, try to focus on open-ended questions that encourage exploration rather than promoting defensiveness. This means asking how rather than why. For example, ask, how might you have approached that intervention differently? Instead of, why did you choose that treatment? Help structure your students' reflection by providing them with frameworks or templates to guide the process. The OT Practice Education Collaborative created a simple template with 5 guiding questions. Here's the link, and we've also included a PDF version for you as an attachment in this module. The 5 guiding questions on the template are listed here. We've previously discussed using similar reflective questions to help identify learning opportunities, so here we're using them to simply help our students reflect on and learn from their experiences. Again, do this individually and as a team. And now back to a few more of the suggestions for practical reflection. We should try to allow students to use different methods for their reflection to accommodate various learning styles. A few suggestions are to use journaling, drawing, or peer discussion. Another valuable suggestion is to revisit specific learning experiences multiple times and reflect on them again with the added benefit of increased experience. This can help students recognize how much they're learning and further improve their practice. As students reflect on specific experiences and share what they've learned, we should also help them relate their experience back to their learning goals by asking leading questions that encourage them to identify their strengths, challenges, and lessons learned. Finally, reviewing video or audio recordings of their own clinical performance can be an eye-opening and highly effective way to facilitate students' self-reflection. This can be used to target a skill that the student wants to improve or a team interaction that we feel needs attention. Please remember that each of these suggestions can be applied to students individually as well as students as a team. Team reflection should focus on how students are interacting and functioning together, how they can improve those interactions, and if they're meeting their group goals. In summary, we can facilitate student reflection by making time for it in the schedule, providing tools and varying methods to guide the process, asking probing questions, using cyclic reflection, relating current experiences to learning goals, and using video recording. Thanks for listening. Here are the references that we used for this segment. Take a few minutes now to think about how you might apply one or two of these suggestions with your next student or your next student team, and make a plan for how you'll do it.